What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Today I have Jack Lauber here, who is local to St. Louis. Met him back in January, I would say. This guy's an absolute stud. You're going to have to stick around, hear his story, what he's done. It's very impressive. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Jack's on his caffeine right now. He's ready to go.
That's right.
So
It's like I had my first cup of coffee today.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell everybody, who's Jack Lauber?
Yeah. So that's a good question. To kind of like go back to it, like I grew up in like a typical like middle class family, and like the expectation, or not the expectation, but like the standard of what people did in the neighborhood I grew up in was, you know, you go to school, and then you go to college, you get a degree, you get a white collar job. And I think I always knew that wasn't me, yet I did it anyway. So I went to school, I played baseball through college. I got a degree in accounting, which
I don't see you being an accountant, by the way.
You are not the first person to say that. So, several people have said that. So I got a degree in accounting. I worked in accounting for about 5 years. You know, my idea with it was always at least what I told people was to learn the language of business, you know, be able to understand the backbone, be able to understand the numbers. So I did that. I probably stayed in accounting for 3 years too long. I was trying to...
How many years total?
5 years total.
Okay.
Yeah, so 60%.
I thought you were going to say 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could argue that it was 5 years too long. But yeah, so I was working for a great company called Midas Hospitality as a assistant controller, and COVID happened, and I don't want to blame it on COVID because honestly, I wasn't that great of an accountant. But I ended up getting fired, and like, I was actually thinking about it last night. I was like, I need to reach out to these guys that own Midas Hospitality and say, hey, thank you so much for firing me. Like, this is, other than my wife and my kids and all that stuff, like so far in my career, definitely the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I got fired. I had I was married, had been married for about a year, had like an 8-month-old. Me and my wife had a honeymoon baby, so we were like, you know, checking things off real quick. House, mortgage.
Honeymoon baby.
A honeymoon baby. Like, yeah, we were going. And yeah, so she wasn't too pumped about that, by the way.
Right.
She wanted to wait a year, and I was like, let's go. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, and I was like, man, I got to make money. Like, you know, I wasn't making a ton of money as an accountant, but we were comfortable. You know, we could buy what we wanted, and we didn't have to worry about our bills or anything like that. So the very next day, I was out pouring concrete. I got fired at like 2:00 on a Thursday.
Why did you get fired?
I was a bad accountant.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't care. Like, let's maybe put it that way. Like, or I got to the point where I didn't care anymore. I didn't see a path forward. I didn't see a path up in that company, and it was just time. Like, in reality, looking back on it, I should have quit before I got fired. Like, I basically just forced their hand. What happened was I kind of got enslaved to the W-2 lifestyle. I was like, all right, I'm making enough money to live. We're paying our mortgage. We're paying our bills. Like, our kids eating. You know, it wasn't lavish by any means, but it was comfortable enough. And I got enslaved to that paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, and I was basically afraid to take a risk. That's really, really what it came down to. So getting fired, I was forced to. You know, I was forced to, and it was, you know, looking back on it now, it was incredible. You know, in the moment, it was stressful. Yeah, definitely stressful. But anyway, so yeah, I got fired at 2:00. I called a guy that I knew that had a concrete company. I was like, yeah, I got a kid. I can make some money. The next morning, I was pouring concrete, forming up concrete, you know, driveways for him and doing all that stuff. Worked for that about 6 weeks and realized that concrete was not for me. And then I ended up meeting somebody in a really strange way. So I'm one of 5 siblings. My older sister, her friend's boyfriend was at my parents' house, and he knew a real estate investor, a wholesaler in St. Louis, Core Properties, and the guy by the name of Jonathan Rankin. So he connected us in kind of a weird way. I met John at a house that he was flipping in Kirkwood. We hit it off really well, and he actually hired me for 1 day a week to be an accountant, you know, hourly. And I was like, hey, I want to be in real estate, you know.
Hey, man, I got fired, just to let you know.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, you know, I'm good enough to where I can balance your QuickBooks, you know, at least. And as So we had a conversation. He hired me to 1 day a week, just like as an hourly kind of a foot in the door kind of thing. Um, and as he's walking away from that conversation, I had done my homework and read about his company and whatnot. Excuse me. And I noticed that they had a job opening for an acquisitions person on their wholesaling team. No sales experience at all. I've been an accountant for 5 years. I've basically forgotten how to talk to people. Or I was scared when I was an accountant to pick up the phone and call people to ask them like, hey, what is this?
Is acquisition like closing the deal, that framework?
Yeah, so it's basically it's like the opposite of a salesperson. You get an inbound lead, you call them, you go and you convince them to, or basically make an offer on their house and convince them to sell it for what you think it's worth or whatever. You're basically looking at the potential of the deal. The reason I say it's the opposite of a salesperson is because you're not really selling anything, you're buying, so they're actually selling to you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so, he was like, yeah, I mean, I guess you can try it out. Like I said, no sales experience, could hardly, get a sentence out at that point in my life. Was really nervous to talk to people. But also I was forced to, like I said, I got my wife, my kid, like I got to make money. So I started going there, and I've always had a pretty good work ethic. And it just clicked. I quickly climbed the ladder. Was one of the top salesmen there. Was doing good. Ended up running a sales team of 5 guys for them for a little while. And
That was all acquisition based.
all acquisition based. Yeah, yeah. And then about probably a year into that, or maybe 14 months into that, I started to really learn the business. And to anybody out there listening, if you want to learn how to become a real estate investor, go work for a wholesaler. You're going to learn how to buy. You're going to learn who they're selling to, what they're doing, all the exit strategies. You're going to get connections with contractors. You're going to get connections with title companies, lenders. I mean, anything you do to put a full deal together. So in the first really 12 months, I got a crash course in how that works. And I realized me buying these houses and then the company going and wholesale, I'm like, that's a good business. But the people that are really making the money are the people that are really, the people that are really building wealth are the people that are buying the houses. And I'm like, just like you, I want to build wealth. I'm not, like I said before, I was enslaved to that W-2 paycheck. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to build passive income. I want to build wealth. So I basically put a plan together of how to, I guess a plan, but I basically put all the pieces together so what I could start buying. I lined up financing. I got a contractor. I found a banker for the refinancing when I was done. I got a property manager and just got all that stuff lined up. And I did that in February of 2021. This is 2023. Yeah, 2021. And it took me I had everything ready to go. LLC, bank account, everything ready. And it took me about 6 months to pull the trigger on my first deal. Again, I was scared. I was scared to take that risk. I was, it was kind of scary to.
How'd you find that first deal?
I bought it from the wholesaler I was working for. So basically what happened is we had a package deal that came in, and the only way that I was going to get my commission is if they were both sold. We were able to wholesale one of them, but not the other one. And I went to him and I was like, I want this commission check. And I finally was like, it's time for me to jump. So I ended up buying that second deal, and that was my first rental property. I actually bought it with the intention of not keeping it as a rental because I've heard all the horror stories of rental properties. Got through it, got it refinanced. I still own it today. I have a mortgage on it of $450 a month, and it rents for $1,000. And I was like, this thing's making $600 a month. And then I just realized,
what kind of interest rate you have on that property?
That one I refinanced in right at the beginning of 2022 or so, or the end of 2021. So rates were good. Where I'm at 4.25. Now the ones I've refinanced lately are 8.5, which really kills the cash flow, but it works out.
And you were going probably from a 12% interest rate using a hard money or private money to, going to get a 7.
Exactly.
So it made sense.
Definitely refinance. I use the Burr method, so I'd buy it and then basically refinance and get all my money back.
So for the people who watch this, right, everyone talks about how bad the interest rates are, but if you go to buy an investment property, oftentimes you're you're finding a private money person or hard money that is
Yeah.
going to range anywhere from, we'll say, 8% to 12%. Why is somebody going to go to one of those lenders and pay 8 to 12% when they can go to the bank and get 7%?
Yeah. So on an investment property, a couple of reasons. One, the biggest reason is wholesalers want to close fast. You know,
Good deals don't last long.
exactly. So they're going to send you a deal and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to need you to close in 7 days." Two, if you can finance it through a hard money lender, private money, however, typically you don't have to put any money down. So if you go to a bank and say, "Hey, I want to borrow this and I want to buy this property," the bank's going to go through a 30-day process of getting you approved and yada yada yada, and you got to put 20% down. Even if you're buying it for 50 cents on the dollar, you still got to put 20% down. So typically with the private money lender, they'll fund everything. Yeah, so you can get it's faster, it's more efficient. And then also, like, if you're borrowing something at a higher interest rate, you got more incentive to get it done faster and get it refinanced faster. You kind of like to
How soon can you refinance and pull cash out of that property?
as quickly as you can.
Okay.
I've had some that I bought with a tenant in place. I bought it with private money, and the day I closed, I started the refinance process.
Are you pulling cash out when you do a refi?
I don't. Well, sometimes I do. Like, it depends.
Just to get your investment back or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. So my goal is to pull out all the money that I put in. There's times where I'm like, I got a $100,000 property and they'll refinance 80% out of it. And I'm all into it 85. So like I had to leave $5,000 in there. And then there's another time where I've got a $100,000 property and I'm all into it at 75. I might pull $5,000 out of that property and make myself whole between the two. But the idea is to build as much equity as you can and to let the cash flow.
And how many units do you have right now?
I have 30 units.
30 units.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this before. You know where they're at?
I do. I probably couldn't tell you all the addresses, but yes, most of them are in North St. Louis County.
Okay. So you buy in like like St. Anne or
Yeah, so I've got a bunch in Hanley Hills. I've got 3 or 4 in Berkeley, 3 or 4 in Overland, and then some other ones like spread out between Florissant, and just those areas.
Why those areas?
They're good rental areas. You can buy the properties for cheaper. They're good. Most of them are like 2-bed, 1-bath, or 3-bed, 2-bath, or 2-bed, 2-bath. So they're a good single person house. They're a good starter family house. They're a good retirement house. And they all rent from like $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And from what I've learned, like you'll always find somebody that wants to rent in that price range. So the turnover is not terrible.
What makes a good rental for your criteria? What's your criteria and what makes it hey, this is a deal, I'm going to buy this?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Does it cash flow $300 a month, and can I refinance on my money? If it does those two things, then I'll look at it. Now with the rates the way they are, $300 a month is pretty tough. But if you can get $150 a month, or even $100 a month now, and you can hope that rates will go down, which I think that they will, then in 5 years that thing's really going to be singing.
Do you think the rates will go down in the next couple of years?
I personally do, with absolutely no knowledge of that industry, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can
My
get
banker
back.
says they will.
Yeah.
This is probably how he's selling me on this stuff.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I bought my first house a couple months ago and we got 6 or 6.5%, interest rate.
Yeah.
And I just can't even imagine if I bought that same house with a 2.5% interest rate, like all my friends. I don't even know if I could have got that, but
It's wild.
my payment would be so much cheaper.
Yeah, so we upgraded in 2020 to a new house, and the rate was so low. When we purchased our new house, the rate was so low. It was only $100 more a month for us to go from what we were paying on our 30-year mortgage in our first house to a 15-year mortgage on our bigger, more expensive second house. So we're like, yeah, so we put it on a 15-year. I think we're at like 2.6, which is, I'll never sell that house.
Amazing.
It'll be rented out forever.
Right.
Or I'll live there. It'll be rented out forever. But
So,
yeah,
okay, so you have 30 units. How fast did you go from zero rental units to 30?
12 months.
12 months.
I basically did all the buying in 2022. I've bought a few this year. the junk removal business has been a larger focus than real estate this year, but I bought 32 houses in 2022. I had one right at the end of 2021, 28 rentals in 2022 with 4 flips, and then I bought one rental in the spring of this year. So I guess 18 months. Yeah.
How can me personally, do you think I can go from 0 to 30 houses in 1 year? Right? Or am I going to need to be doing a probably pretty significant amount of time, or what would you say?
Yeah, I would say it's a full-time job. Like, it's very possible. You got to be extremely organized. And you got to have a good team in place. You got to have a good contractor. You got to have people you can trust. But if you build relationships with wholesalers and they're sending you deals and you've got enough capital raised to be able to go do it, yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, there's people that do a heck of a lot more than 30 in a year.
So how does the management side work? You build a portfolio of 30 houses. You got rent coming in. You got people who aren't paying rent. You got houses all over, all over the place. I assume you have a property manager, right? What are they doing for you? And is the money all going to one bank account, or is it going to different bank accounts? And or just random expenses? Like, how do you keep track of everything and make sure your head's attached?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I value my time very highly. And that's the simplest answer as to why I have a property manager. I would I think my monthly rate's 10% of rent or 10% of what's collected. I would much rather have, one, the time freedom that I have, and two, the peace of mind of knowing that I'm not going to be getting the maintenance calls on Sunday afternoon because the toilet's clogged or whatever, there's a leak and whatever. So I just sacrifice the 10% of my portfolio, 10% of my revenue to not have to deal with that. And if growth is your goal, you should absolutely have a property manager.
How many units do you think you need before you hire one?
One.
Okay.
I would never manage one. Yeah.
Do you think 10% is doesn't seem like a lot if the unit is $1,000, $1,000 a month?
Yes. I mean, property managers view it's a volume game. I don't know how many the guy that manages mine, I don't know how many he has, but I know that we do on the junk removal side, we do work for a property manager a lot, and they have like 1,500 units.
Wow.
So, it's a volume game. Like once you have, from what I've heard from people, it's like 200 to 250 doors. Once you have that, then your property manager starts to be valuable, but that's just secondhand information.
Do you have any Section 8 rentals?
I have a couple.
What are your thoughts on those?
It's guaranteed money. It's good. I think in my history, in my experience, I would say the houses typically get a little bit more roughed up. But my property manager tries to target market rent on a 2-year lease with no Section 8. And they take a little bit longer to fill things than probably mostly others, but they're pretty picky. And in 18 months, I'm just now having my first eviction, and it's a person that they did not put in. It was a property that I bought with somebody in place. So
is there a lot of people, if you have 30 tenants, is 30 people paying on time every single month, or is there 25 people paying on time every month?
Well, I got 30, 27 of them are occupied.
Okay.
With the 27th unit going through the eviction, so that guy's not paying. So I have 26 paying tenants. No, they don't all pay on time.
So what do you do whenever, the tenant's not paying you money, right? So are you taking the cash flow taken from Peter to pay Paul? Is that what you're doing to basically pay for that other unit? Because the mortgage might be $500, $800.
Yeah. So my break even point's about 23 units. So as long as I have 23 going or 23 paying, then I can pay all my mortgages. I can pay, whatever, whatever maintenance or whatever comes up throughout the month. If I dip below that, then it's basically going into my flip profit. The profit that I make from, flipping, it's like, all right, well, now I got to pay for these rentals. So, but we're like, we're pretty close to the 3 that I have left. I think we're pretty close to having those full. So, 95% occupancy is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Finally.
Do you think you'll ever sell those in like a package deal in the near future? Is your goal to scale up to 100 single families? Or you kind of want to get into the multi-family game, or? My goals are constantly changing in regards to, especially what I've learned this year.
Um, when I started it, my goal was to have a portfolio of 250 single family properties within 10 years, in addition to doing other businesses. I still think that I can achieve that. In fact, well, I know that I can do it. I just got to prioritize a little bit better. Um, with that being said, like you talk about multifamily, like you go out and buy one building that has 100 doors on it, and it's just everything's simpler.
One and done.
Everything's simpler. So, um, it's definitely a thought. It's definitely a thought. But the other thing is like I've got the single family process together pretty good, and it flows. Like I buy it, I set up utilities, and I'm like, hey contractor, let me know when you're done. I'll tell the property manager. I'm basically just a coordinator at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was, flipping those 4 houses last year and buying the other 28 rentals, like I was maybe working like 5 hours a week. It was not and like I said, it was just a coordinator job.
Do you think that for the amount of positive cash flow that comes in today, profit, do you think you could retire today? Maybe not live the best life, but could you retire today and not work again?
No.
Okay. I was just curious.
Maybe at like 100.
Okay.
Maybe at 100 units with like 90 of them rented out. I'd have to run the numbers on that, but no, I would not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's like when I think about the 30 that I have now, obviously the plan is to grow, but when I think about it, I'm 32. I've been paying on all of them for a year. They're all on 20-year amortizations. So by the time I'm 51, I'm going to have 30 units that average probably $1,500 a month in rent, debt free. So, I mean, that's, and take out 10% or whatever the rate is at that time. Let's just say it's a third goes to expenses. Like that's $30,000 a month, as long as I just hang out and keep paying these bills. Obviously there's going to be ones that are going to need to flip and roofs and HVAC. I'm not naive to that stuff, but the passive income, like, being able to sit here and say, hey, basically what I did last year, I built roughly a $4 million real estate portfolio that's going to appreciate and have all the tax benefits and provide me cash flow now. And also, if I just hang out till I'm 50 and keep paying on that, like $30,000 a month's no joke.
No, that's good money.
Yeah.
So say somebody's making $20,000 a month profit with their job, we'll say. How many houses do you think they can realistically buy each year?
$20,000 a month profit. And that's like
with a full-time job. Maybe they're working a 9-to-5 job, something like that.
One thing that I've learned about real estate and that I had to kind of overcome at the beginning is if you get a good enough deal, or if you take the time and effort to find good deals, you'll never have an issue with the money. Like I don't think 20,000 a month, 100,000 a month, 5,000 a month, 1,000 a month. If you find a good deal, you're going to find somebody that wants to lend you the money. So I would turn back to that person and say, what are your capabilities? It took me 6 months to buy my first one. And then the next 6 months I bought 10, and had I had double the financing, I could have bought 20, so it's just.
And now you can use those 30 properties as collateral to get funded for anything probably.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So in fact, they're collateralized right now in a line of credit, and I use that to fund my rehabs.
Do you have over $1 million of equity in those properties?
I have
in the portfolio?
Almost.
Okay.
Almost. Yeah. Almost.
Didn't know if you'd answer that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty open about money. I don't care. And the reason being is like I told you, when I'm back working as an accountant and slave to that W-2, like I always knew that this was out there and that it was a cool thing. But I wish somebody would have like grabbed me earlier and shook me and been like, dude, you got to go do this. You're literally wasting your life. So yeah, ask me anything about money. It's not like a prideful thing when I say it. It's just, I think it's important for people to know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what's crazy is like, the way that I grew up, you don't ask people how much money they make, and you don't tell people how much money you make either. Yeah. And I feel like it's because a lot of people are embarrassed, and that's why they don't like talking about it. If you find somebody who really thinks that they're killing the game, right? They're looking for a reason to share it.
Exactly.
Or you can use it as leverage for a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so we kind of covered the real estate aspect of things. And then all of a sudden, Jack Lauber comes around. I'm going to start a junk removal business. Why did you want to start a junk removal business if you could have just kept going with real estate?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, I was only working about 5 hours a week. And one of my goals for 2023 was to start a side hustle. I recognized a need when I was going into my own projects that, one, they were typically pretty messy. And two, I was paying a lot of money to have the houses cleaned out at the beginning, have them cleaned out during the process, yada, yada, yada. And I was going through and doing a lot of the demo work myself already anyway. So I was looking for that side hustle, and then I called my contractor and I said, hey, he was doing a lot, doing all mine, doing other folks, and like staying pretty busy. I said, what's the number one thing you spend money on? He said, by far, cleanouts and trash pickups. I was like, all right. I said, if I start a junk removal business, can I bid your jobs? And he said, yes. And I made that phone call on I think it was December 13th. That's the Friday, December 13th. December 16th, that Monday, I already had $4,500 in work for that next week just from calling him. And I was like, dang, here we go. I was like, just from the context of him and then other folks I know, we were able to build 20,000 a month really
within the first 30 days.
really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into how you came across me as well, because you're a pretty off the charts guy, or you were, back then. This was, back in January, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You went to one of your buddies and kind of go through that process.
Yeah, so it was the contractor that I was talking about. He, I told him, interested in junk removal, and he said, hey, he literally took a screenshot of Facebook and texted it to me, and it was you on the truck, throwing boxes or whatever it was, or some kind of advertising for Junk Academy or Slam Dunk and Junk. And at this point in my career, I had learned how to talk to people again, and wasn't afraid of it. So I just picked up the phone right away. I think I called you or texted you or something, and you got me in touch with one of your closers, and a few days later we were signed up. I've tell everybody, going back to starting in real estate, Jonathan Rankin at Core Properties was huge to me, to be able to help me to start that portfolio and grow it and really help me get out of my own way. So coaching to me was always a big deal. So signing up for a coach for this business was pretty much a no-brainer. I wanted to figure out the right kind of coach, and I had never started a service-based business before. So watching the stuff that you did, and then seeing the process that you created, and then understanding that all I got to do to really be successful in this is to emulate the process and show up, so it was easy. It was pretty much an easy choice to go with Junk Academy at that point, because it was just hey, here's however many steps from the program, do these and you'll be able to grow it to X. And we did it and it worked. It was pretty simple.
So within the first 30 days, correct me if I'm wrong, you did $22,000 in revenue. Is that correct?
Yeah, about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
something, yeah.
Most people, I talk to people who have been in junk removal for 15 years, 7 years, 3 years, and they're still yet to hit a $20,000 month. What's the lesson to be learned between you and other people who they start their business, they're struggling to do $2,000 a month, right? Like Brian, who's out there, he was doing a couple $1,000s a month, and then he started to take off.
Yeah.
You took off within the first 30 days. What do people need to know that are at least going to help them grasp how you did that?
Yeah, it's 100% relationships. I mean, it's, fortunately for me, I knew a lot of flippers. I knew a lot of real estate investors that were working on projects, and it was contacts I already had. And then also, like I kind of said earlier, I've always just been a hard worker, and I've always wanted to get after it. So I don't really have any problem walking into a real estate office and be like, hey, I'm a junk removal owner. What do you got? What can I do to help you? So me and my business partner, Mason, we just started doing that. And I started reaching out to people that I knew, and they were like, yeah, man, I can't find a reliable demo guy. All right. The junk guy comes and he only takes 95% of the stuff, so we realized that quickly. And then the service that we started providing, it wasn't anything extremely special or really original. We just got really good at that last 10%, which was we clean up really well. We take really good after pictures. We sweep out the corners. If we do demo, we sweep out in between the studs. If we do demo and we got drywall falling down, we vacuum out all the air vents and stuff like that. And then I always make sure to follow up really well with the client. Hey, were you happy with it? Is there anything else we could have done better? Would you recommend us? Would you give us a 5-star review? Anything like that.
We're ready for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know when the next one is. And we got really good at that, and we were able to build the SOI basically the SOI like lead base or our core clients pretty quickly. Yeah.
So, lesson to be learned for anybody watching. What's going to help your junk removal business or really any service-based business grow is relationships. Go out there and build the right relationships. You know,
Absolutely.
the difference between a lot of people out there who start a junk removal company, they start a service-based business. We're fortunate enough to where we can sit in our bed every single day. We go on Thumbtack, we go on Angie, we go on Google, we go on whatever else, and we can start spending money and getting leads. And people get lazy, and it's not as profitable when nobody wants to go out there and build the relationships. You know, walk in there and actually shake hands. The more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Exactly.
To where that's what needs to be done, and that's what's going to make you the most profitable business out there as well. And we're getting to a point where people are more and more lazy, where if you're just willing to do what people aren't, you're going to be successful. Like this business, most businesses aren't rocket science. It's just not easy. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes experience, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you've been in the business since February. What would you say you're on track to hit in terms of revenue this year?
My goal was 600,000 this year. It took us, and with the plan of like building up to 50,000 a month as quickly as possible. If we can trend in the same direction, or actually just plateau where we're at right now, we'll hit about 540, 550.
It's amazing.
The first
it's
awesome,
year.
But it's like, I want that 600, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's
So,
wild.
you know, what's crazy to me is I go out there, right? Some 23-year-old kid. Hey, I did, you know, because we did from August 2020 to December 2020, we did 85,000 in sales, right? So that was like, you know, 5-6 months, whatever it is. But the first full year in business, we did 498,000 in revenue. And when I tell everybody that, oh my gosh, that's not possible, right? And then here you are blowing my doors off and doing 540, right? Maybe even more the first year. People really need to realize that, you know, that's possible. And do you have a GMB?
What's that?
Like a Google My Business?
No.
Yeah, you don't have a Google. See, that's another thing is, right. And I've shared stuff about your business and you scale, and they're like, hey, we just looked this guy up. He doesn't even have a GMB. There's no way he's doing $50,000 a month right now. This guy's a liar, right?
It's real.
Yeah. And what percent profit margin will you say your business is running, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it's fine. So I've been getting better at tracking the numbers now that I'm fortunately off the truck pretty frequently. We're about 40% margin.
40%.
Yeah.
Before taxes.
Before taxes. Yeah.
Okay. And if I told a lot of people, right, hey, this person's going to do X amount in revenue and their profit is 40% versus some other guy who's doing junk removal and, you know, he's running ads, he's doing all this other stuff that everyone should be doing to grow their business, but his margin's 25%. You know, why are you running a 40% margin? What can you say there?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm trading. So I've learned over the last 6 or 9 months, however long we've been doing this, you know, we started with like, all right, we need to get a really good website and we need to build up that website with SEO and let's think about Google ads and, you know, let's do all this stuff. And I've started to learn after like going back and basically auditing the marketing and the leads that we're getting, majority of the marketing what we get, or majority of the leads that we get are free. You know, they're all like people that we know or other flippers or whatever. And then, you know, now we're building what I consider the new SEO, which is social media. We're building up our brand on social media. So, you know, we obviously pay to have those posts done, but when I call people, they know us. They know me as like, oh man, you're really crushing it. You know, you're doing, you know, junk removal and demo looks like it's going great. But like, so for example, like we were paying, you know, roughly $2,000 a month for SEO. Just canceled that service, and I took that $2,000 and I turned it into a $900 a month truck payment. So now I'm saving $1,100 a month, and I've now created debt that makes me money. You know, so I've just been kind of trading expenses for things like that. Yeah.
Okay, I want to touch on this as well, since I think this is super valuable. When I started my company, 20 years old, I have no money whatsoever. You know, I just start this brand new LLC where if I go to a bank, I can't get a loan for anything. I don't have any capital. where I can't go buy a dump truck, a $60,000 truck, $40,000 truck, whatever, to where I was stuck buying $5,000 trucks, $2,000 trailers, $8,000 flatbed trucks to scale this business.
Yeah.
And in return, it cost me thousands and thousands of dollars in repairs. Somebody who's getting into this business, should they go out there and spend $5,000 and buy a box truck or a trailer or whatever? Or you kind of went the route of buying the right vehicle first.
Yeah.
What do you have to say there?
Yeah, so fortunately, when we first started, like the first 3 months, I had an F-150 and I had access to a dump trailer. So like we were able to get started with real low money. We just had like a 9-yard dump trailer, and we were doing 2 or 3 pickups a day, and it was simple and it was easy. And then we were able to build up a little bit of capital, but from the past relationships that I've had in real estate and from people knowing and trusting me, it was easy for us to be able to go get financing to be able to buy the correct truck. And also, like, I'm an old man, I'm 32 years old. Unloading a box truck, I think I'd probably close the doors before I unload a box truck again. So, I mean, it was, we searched for a while to find the right one. And then the other thing that, once we were able to line up the debt and figure out that, we could get approved for this or whatnot, like, I think our first truck payment's $849.21 a month. Like we make that on Monday morning.
Right. And exactly.
So,
and the thing is all these people, they can only relate with what they know, what they're surrounded around. So the way that I think my first car payment was around $450 a month, right? I bought this Shelby GT500. My mom was like, "Oh my gosh, $400 a month. That is insane," right? When that is literally, that's toilet paper.
Exactly.
Is the best way to put it. It's toilet paper. So
you're using good toilet paper, man. That's great.
So, but it's all based on what's, relatable to yourself and what you can experience and what you're based around.
Yeah.
So most people are like, I don't want an $800 truck payment, when really that's not that much for the amount of money that you can actually make. Where you go buy a truck for $5,000 or $10,000, that money's up front. Guaranteed, you are going to spend more money fixing that truck in a given year versus you paying $800 a month for a truck payment.
100%.
Like 100. I would say at one point I was spending minimum $2,000 a month just to get trucks repaired. Minimum.
Oh, I absolutely believe it. Absolutely.
Fuel injectors, exhaust. I mean, it was always something. And then I really hate taking cars to mechanics because I do like cars, but if they tell me a fuel injector's out, I have a really good story, and I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm going to.
Here we go.
I had this car that basically was acting up, and it was acting up for a while. I'd go to a stop sign, I'd go to a stoplight, and it did this like weird rocking thing. It almost felt like the car was going to die is what it felt like, but the RPMs weren't dropping. It wouldn't die.
Yeah.
Something was wrong with the car. It was embarrassing. I take it to a mechanic shop. They say, "Hey, got bad news. You need a new engine." And I say, "Get it done." I was like, damn, $5,000. Okay, let's get it done. And it sits there for a whole entire month. And I'm like, "Hey, where's my vehicle? Is it fixed? Whatever. I'm ready to pay the $5,000 bill." Car's still sitting there like it was never even touched.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? F this. I'm going to go in there, grab it myself. I'm taking it somewhere else. I take my car to the Chevy dealership. They say you need a new battery and you need an oil change. It was a $5,000 initial, you need a new motor, to a $500 job, right? That car is still running today.
Yeah.
That is why I do not like taking my cars to mechanics, because there's a mechanic stereotype for a reason. And I feel like, it's such a shady business.
Yeah.
And you never know what's wrong with your vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And did they even do anything, or did they put a battery and an oil change and then told me I got a new motor? And wiped it off a little bit.
So we've been really fortunate. My business partner, Mason, his parents own an auto body and a collision shop. So when we go and we bought our second truck actually today, and the dealership's always trying to upsell us on a warranty and whatnot, and we're like, nah, I think we're good. But we can take it we're fortunate here. We can take it to the auto body shop or to the mechanic shop, and basically we can get it done at cost. And we know that, it's his parents. if they're screwing them over, then I guess we're going to have a different conversation.
Knowing mechanics,
Yeah.
they probably are.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to go back real quick to we were talking about the truck payment. Like
Yeah.
the truck payment, I think it's just a mindset change. It's $800 a month it's not an expense, and it's an investment. Like when we went out, I remember calling you. I see all these junk removal trucks on the road, and they're like 10 feet long or 12 feet long with tall sides, and there may be like 12-yard boxes. And I called you. I was like, "Hey, I got an opportunity to buy a truck with a 20-yard box on it. It's 16 feet long." And I was like, "Why are all these other junk removal companies? Why do they have these smaller trucks?" And I'll never forget what you said to me. You go, "I'll trade you your truck for my truck." And I was like, "Okay, well
I'm going to go buy one.
yeah, exactly." I was like, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. So, I mean, we've got a 20-yard box and we can fit a lot of stuff, if we pack that thing right. But the truck is an investment. It's not an expense. I mean, if you can't figure out an $800 a month truck payment, then
Go back to being an accountant.
exactly. Like there's probably something else that needs to be discussed there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the same thing goes with anything, right? The $800 a month, I don't want that payment. Marketing companies, SEO, paid per click, different things like that cost $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I remember, right, all I was relative to or relatable to was paying $1,500 a month for whatever service. I never really paid anything more than that.
Yeah.
If somebody hit me with $2,000,
Yeah.
ooh, that's more than, a lot of things. I don't know if I'd pay that. I went from paying somebody around $1,500 a month for marketing services, we'll say. And I thought that was a lot. I couldn't see myself ever paying more. Maybe even I thought I should pay less.
Yeah.
And then I talked to this other company, which I'm not going to go into specific details here. And I say, "How much does your services cost?" The retainer, just a monthly retainer, was $8,500. Plus, I had to pay 10% of my profits to this business, right? I wouldn't even pay $2,000 before. And
Right.
I ended up growing some balls and paying that $8,500 a month where I shouldn't financially have done that.
Yeah.
Which that's over $100,000 a year right there.
Yeah.
And then I had to pay 10% on top of that of my profits. And that was one of the best investments I've ever made in my life. So it's not really about the cost. It's what is this going to do for me?
Exactly.
Right? Because I'd happily spend or pay somebody $100,000 a month if they could make me 150.
Exactly. It's obvious. Yeah. It's would you trade a dollar for two?
Yeah. It's
know,
all
like-
it's all a
Yeah.
mindset.
I
thing.
remember, when we first started the SEO, I didn't know much about it. And I told him, like, I was like, it's pretty simple. This is going to work out if, we're going to pay you X and you can return this, and we have the expectation it's going to take a while to get there. And then I remember telling him, "Hey, yeah, if we're spending 1,000 and making 3,000, I'm going to go out and figure out how to get financing so I can give you 200,000 a month so I can
Right,
make
right.
500. Like, I'll figure that out, if that's really the real return. But yeah, it's the marketing, the truck, whatever you want to call it, whatever those expenses are, you just got to change your mindset to it's really an investment and not an expense.
Data doesn't lie, and you have to give anything at least 90 days, depending on what it is. It might be different for other things, but just to see if it even works or it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're doing junk removal as well as demolition. Hop into the demolition side of things. Kind of the type of jobs that you're doing. I know that you personally like demo more. There's
do.
a lot of junk removal clients that I personally have, and I'm like, you need to do these types of businesses in order to make a lot of money to scale to 7 figures. Don't just do junk removal. How as well can these junk removal companies get into demolition?
Yeah, so it was easy for us to get into demo because of our client base. We go into, like, I'll paint a picture of our ideal client, a real estate investor that just bought a house that's full of stuff and they're doing a full renovation. And I've been in that situation where I've bought those houses and I've called the junk guys and said, "Hey, come clean this out." And I've ordered the roll-offs and all that stuff. And then I hire the demo guys to come in, and then they get all the demo done, but they're really just they get it all done, but they make a mess. And then you call the junk guy back to clean up all the mess. So I realized there's probably people out there too, but there's a service that could be created that's just everything at once. And I know from flipping houses, and I know from seeing contractors work, if you leave the house cleaner than you left it, or you do a decent job, you make sure you pull all the nails out of all the studs where drywall's going back up or the ceiling or whatever, the contractor that comes in behind you just does a better job. And I knew that from my projects, and I now know that from doing doing other people's projects. But it was an easy add-on for us. We'd show up in a house and they'd want the junk removed, and they were like, "Do you guys take out carpets?" I was like, "Yeah, of course we take out carpets. We take out the carpet. We guys demo a kitchen? Yeah, I would love to demo a kitchen." So we added it on pretty quick. And then the reason it's kind of a trade-off. So like the reason I like demo better is because they're higher ticket jobs and you're on one site for longer. So the management of like the schedule and all that jazz is just easier. The reason I like junk jobs is because you might only be there for 10 minutes and you might make $400. So
There's a lot of money and
kinda the
profit
trade-off.
into junk removal, but
Yeah.
you need so many leads in order to really scale this. You have to do over, we'll say 2,500 jobs a year,
Yeah.
just to do $1 million a year, maybe a little bit less, but that's a lot of jobs. And you're not going to, if you get 2,500 leads, that doesn't mean you're going to do $2,500 or 2,500 jobs.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and we'll have a lot of demo clients now that say, "Hey, I need this kitchen, bath, flooring, all this stuff X. It's September 1st. I need it done by September 21st." I go out and bid it for $5,000, and now I've got a $5,000 filler job that I can get done over 3 weeks. It's not like, all right, I got to pull everything off so we can spend 2 or 3 days there and get this done. It's like, all right, you got 3 hours this afternoon, go knock out that bathroom. You got 4 hours the next week, go get that kitchen done. You got 2 hours today, go clean up your mess.
a lot of investors, they think that every junk removal company does demo, which is not true. And when I first started my company, I landed my first big job. It was $4,000. It was a house clear out.
Yeah.
And the investor calls me up. He's like, "Hey man, I forgot to tell you, I need those bathrooms demoed. How much?" I was like, "I'll get you an estimate, right?
Yeah.
I can do it for $200." I never even tore out a bathroom in my life. I immediately get on YouTube after the $200. He's like, "Yep, sounds good. All right, I need the kitchen torn out too. Okay, $200."
Yeah.
And I got paid like barely anything. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it though. No regrets.
Yeah.
And I started doing this job, and I'm watching YouTube, and I'm trying to pull the shower out, and I'm banging through the walls and stuff like that. And it was a learning experience for me. And
sure.
You might as well learn when they're not on the job site, the customer.
Yeah.
But the reason why I got into demo was that was the first one where the customer was like, "Hey, can you do this?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I guess so." Did it. And then I got into demo because here in St. Louis, December, January, February, by far worst months of the year. We'd cut back 35 to 50% in revenue, where I couldn't, it'd be at times it would be hard to keep my guys busy.
Sure.
Where we wouldn't have enough cash flow coming in. I'd be lucky to break even during those months with all the ads I was spending, stuff like that.
Yeah.
To where I would start doing demo. That's really where I promoted it, is during January and February. We would do that just to keep busy. And I fell in love with the business itself, other than the labor intensive work, because a junk removal job, exactly like you said, it might take 10 minutes long. And then maybe it takes a couple days, but that's very rare. Right. But with a demo job, it's mostly going to be at least a day. At least a day.
At least. Yeah. And then the demo jobs that are half a day or less are the least profitable. I mean, it'll be like, "Hey, can you come remove this carpets for us?" And it's like, it's like a $400 job and you're there for 4 hours. We don't pass it up because we're focused on building relationships, but they don't make a ton of sense.
What's the biggest demo job you've ever done?
We did
in terms of price.
We did one for about 13 grand, and then we ended up going back to do a few more things. I think and there was some junk removal in there as well, but we were probably up to like 18,000 at that house. Yeah.
I got a call from a fire restoration company months before I sold my company, and they said, "Hey, we need you to give us a bid," and I was not in shape to be doing demo. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't have the team. My team didn't want to do the jobs.
Sure.
And they send me out to a clubhouse, like a neighborhood clubhouse, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was probably like more than 5,000 square feet. It had a gym. There was like maybe something caught on fire in the gym. The whole place was just burnt down. That bid, I didn't land it, by the way. So I don't know if I misbid it by $20,000 or, but I said, hey, like the bid was 45 grand, and I'm sure that whoever landed it must have been 30 to 40 in
Yeah.
that range.
Yeah.
So
It's been interesting to learn how to bid those jobs. And, I'll go back and forth with a client. I'll be like, hey, especially with the real estate investors, I'm like, hey, I talk your language. I know what you're looking for in a house. I can understand how you're going to put this back together. I'm not your typical junk guy or demo guy that's coming in here and trying to get through the job as quickly as possible. I can look at a wall, and there's a lot of times where I'll make a suggestion to the investor. They'll be like, oh yeah, go ahead and knock that out. I did it this morning.
Right.
Lady wanted us to take a bunch of shelves out, basement shelves out of a house in Florissant, and she told me she was selling the house as is, and I was like, I'm not gonna tell my business partner this because we could do it for more money, but I'm like, you're selling this thing as is. Leave the shelving up. If somebody buys it and they say I want the shelves removed later, then call me back. I'm happy to come do it. But right now, I'm like, let them figure out what they want to do with the house.
And you just want a customer for life there.
Exactly.
Because everyone is trying to stick it to
She
them.
already liked one of my Facebook posts.
There you go. There you go. Is that how you earn the client?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Basically.
great.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Love
I
those leads. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're doing junk removal and demo. You're on track to, we'll say, hit 500,000-600,000 this year.
Yeah.
Where is your plan of taking things in the future?
Yeah. So I think that the business, the junk removal business, I think we can get to a point where we plateau around 75,000 a month pretty comfortably. Now I'm a big thinker. I'm a very big thinker. I have very big goals. 100,000 a month, I think will also probably be pretty easy that we could get there. The thing that holds me back a little bit is making sure that you build the right team. We've got 2 really good guys right now. But 100,000, like we probably would have done 75,000 in August had we not had a labor problem. We had a couple guys working for us over the summer. They left to go back to school. We had to get started. They quit. And then we finally found 2 good guys towards the tail end. But me and Mason were out sweating and hauling junk. And it was, feels like 120 degrees and, all that stuff. I think we ended up doing like 54. And we had a few, we probably had another 10,000 or so that we finished this first week that should have been in August. And then we had another jobs that we bid high because we don't have the crew to get in. We ended up not getting them. So, I think 75,000, like right now we're at the 50,000 plateau. I think 75,000 is the next one, or 70, 75. I could also see if I just kind of go balls to the wall with it of making it, probably 60,000 a month in junk removal and probably 80,000 a month in demo, close to $150,000 a month business. I will say this though, while it's a good business and the margins are great, there's times where it's very time consuming, and it's definitely taken away from the real estate business a little bit.
And your family.
In my family. Yeah, definitely. And
I just got you some points for your wife.
Yeah, that's right.
She watches
and
this.
let me say this real quick, because I just want to throw this out there. The last 2 nights have been real late work days. My wife never bats an eye at me working late. She never gets mad at me because I'm leave at 7 a.m. I get back at 6 or 7 at night. She's literally the perfect support system for somebody like me. It's hey, I'm gonna go out and build you an empire, and when we're 40, 41, 42, if we want to say, hey, let's go to Maui for 6 weeks, we're just gonna go.
You might want to go buy her some flowers after this.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly right.
Do you think she'll watch this?
I'm gonna make her.
Okay.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah. Skipped 47 minutes and 16 seconds.
That's right. Yeah. But no, she's the ultimate support system.
Yeah, that's really good. And a lot
it's really important.
It really is. And a lot of people struggle. You have kids, you have one on the way.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can mention that.
Yeah, it's fine. 2 boys, 3rd boy on the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
you guys haven't announced it, have you?
Or no, we have. She's
Okay.
25 or 26 weeks this week.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's not a secret.
Hopefully I didn't spill
it's
the
okay.
beans.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're blaming Kyle.
Yeah. She's not gonna like me.
No.
Yeah, so it's it's just a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this because maybe they have big things going for them, or maybe they want to get in the gym, or maybe they want to start crushing it with their business or make more money, where they've got a wife in the corner or a girlfriend that is just constantly nagging at them for doing those things, where it's a fast pass to the middle class.
Yeah, absolutely. And by no means are we perfect, but I've got a pretty good support system at home, and it helps.
I obviously have a baby myself, and adding a baby into the mix. You got I've got a girlfriend. I'm hustling, right? Every
Yeah.
single day because I'm not where I want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I could lose everything tomorrow constantly, so I don't, it's constant grind. And I
Yeah.
want to set myself up, and it does take time to where a lot of advice that I was trying to get from mentors and stuff like that wasn't, hey, how can I make $1 million? It was, how do I balance? Do you guys have balance, right? How do
Yeah.
I create that balance of still doing what I need to do every single day to grow this empire, and also, make sure that the wife is happy, and
Mm-hmm.
also, the baby, like I'm there to take care of her
Yeah.
and see her grow up and that sort of thing. And what I realized, I would say a big takeaway that I realized is like the amount of time, say I work from in the morning to, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is the cutoff time,
Mm-hmm.
is what I do. That's,
Yeah.
basically Monday through Friday. I might wake up at 8 a.m. one day. I might wake up at 9 a.m. one day,
Yeah.
right? I can wake up whenever I want because I have that freedom. I have that choice.
Right.
But I could create that balance that's needed by waking up at 4 a.m. and getting that stuff done.
Yeah.
But even if you do get up at 4 a.m., it doesn't mean that, you're managing your time wisely.
Yeah.
So the amount of time that somebody gets done in a given day, like they could probably do exactly what they did in a day in a couple of hours just by changing the way that they've done things.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
don't know if you watch Rob Dyrdek at all.
A little bit. Yeah.
Rob Dyrdek talks about how he manages his time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it made me start to think about time, right? He's a
Yeah.
busy guy. And he was like, I'm setting up 1 hour Zoom calls. Why do they have to be 1 hour? Why can't they be 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, I'm like, every single Zoom call that I set up just to talk to my team for 15 minutes, I block 1 hour off. Well, then I'm sitting around for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my phone, I'm on TikTok, then I'm on Instagram, then I'm on Facebook,
Right.
where you just
Yeah.
waste so much time. And what I ended up doing was every single 30 minutes of the day, set a timer, and then write down what you did in that 30 minutes.
Wow.
And then, I mean, it's overly extra,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah.
you realize like, hey, this 30 minutes went towards, I went to the bathroom for 10 minutes. Then I was talking to Ashley for 5. And then, I was doing this, where
Yeah.
you realize like a couple hours during the day, you could have been balls to the walls grinding, and maybe you
Yeah.
shouldn't have had to work until 5.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a difference between productive and busy. And like like two things that I'm going to be working on going forward, just on like, self-development outside of really the business, is one, turning myself from an owner operator to more of like a CEO focused mindset where, I'm not like right now I have a big, like, I got a lot of FOMO. I'm like, oh man, I missed that lead call, or man, I got to go reach out to this person, or whatever. And I'm like constantly like trying to chase that next job or the next dollar or whatever. Where in reality, like if I could step back and be like, okay, this business is going to run itself. Like it's at a point now where it's going to do 50,000 a month, whether I'm here or not. And step back and say like, all right, now what do I need to be doing to get that next 25,000 going? And with that, with being able to go from an owner operator to more of a CEO mindset, I have to do exactly what I just said, which is I got to be more productive rather than just busy. And right now I just feel like I'm busy. I feel like, okay, well, I got to balance this for the accountant, and then I got to go check on our KPIs, and
You
whatever.
got to learn to give up a lot in
Exactly.
order to do what's actually going to move the needle in your business.
Exactly.
Think about the drive time for you driving here, right? I
Yeah.
assume it was pretty far drive for you to
Yeah,
get here.
40 minutes, yeah.
Also, then you got to drive back. You did a couple estimates.
Mm-hmm.
Just the drive time alone could take up, and this is the thing with junk removal is if you work for 8 hours in a day,
Yeah.
you're probably driving for 4 hours of the day. You can't make money in that time frame.
Yep.
Where
Yeah.
you personally doing these different things, like if you just opened up that time, right, instead of driving around and giving estimates and doing this, and you hired somebody who could take that off your plate, where you can go focus on getting 5 more rentals,
Exactly.
or you can focus on getting one more client that's going to pay you $13,000 for a demo job.
Yeah.
That's when you start to move the needle in your business.
Yeah. Time is your most valuable asset.
Time is money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
I want to hop into this. So you weren't a social media guy whatsoever, right? No. You didn't even have a Facebook when your buddy who was a contractor was, basically reaching out to you saying, hey, check out Kyle. He owns a junk removal business.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have a Facebook whatsoever. You weren't a social media guy whatsoever.
No.
The way that I grew my junk removal business was posting content all over Facebook, buy, sell, and trade 20 times a day and 20 times, 20 groups at a time.
Yeah.
Posting multiple times on different groups, posting stories on TikTok.
Yeah.
I just went crazy with it because I had no budget for ads or anything like that. And nobody at the time was like doing it like I was in the junk removal industry, where it worked out extremely well. Where I have all these clients that come into the program and I'm like, this is the framework that you need to be doing to post social media content. Yeah. And it's just like so far over their head.
Yeah, it was over mine.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I didn't even have a Facebook.
And I would tell you, hey, you need to post more on social media. And you would say, yeah, man, I've been so busy. I got to get around to that. We did post the other day though, and if you post once a week, stuff like that, cool.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm going to know who you are.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, but yeah.
To where I just told my clients over and over again, hey, you need to start posting content on social media. They would never do it ever, you know? And then I want them to get better results with the program. So I was like, you know what? I'll do it for them. So 5 months ago, I started managing their social media. I did it myself. I took my pictures. I took my videos. I told them what to post, or I told them what content to give me. They'd upload it in a drive. I'd post it on all their platforms. And then you came along, right? And I was like, hey, man, you're like, yeah, I need to start posting more on social media, where I took over yours and your partner, Mason's social media accounts.
Yeah. I mean, first you sent us the framework and you were like, do this. We're like, oh, yeah, we got that.
Yeah, easy.
No.
Free. Free.
Yeah.
The people who don't pay attention.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
So we started managing your social media, and under Junk Academy, and then basically where did that go? What did that do for you?
It's been massive. It took like 2 or 3 months to really get it going, but August was, huge for us. I think the first week of August we landed $9,500 just in Facebook jobs. And we're like consistently getting like 1 or 2 leads landed per week. And so far this week we did $2,500 Monday, we did $850 on Tuesday, and we did $1,000 this morning. And I booked a lead from Facebook to go bid on Monday at 2:00
from posting social media content.
That's all it is.
Right.
Original content.
Right.
Before and after pictures, me swinging a sledgehammer, time lapse, whatever. Just like low quality stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. You posted a video yesterday, and I commented out. I was like typing out a comment. I'm like, man, this guy really knows how to swing a hammer, and I'm like, I'm not gonna post that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it's like, what is he gonna think of it here? So, but yeah, man. So you start landing a lot of jobs, right? And I still remember maybe a month ago or so, you give me a call, and what did you say?
Well, it was pretty simple. I was like, hey, dude, the social media stuff is really working. Where do you see this going? Like, what's there's got to be a business around it, or what's the plan? And I was like, hey, I think I can help you land clients. I know other contractors. I know other people that would benefit from the service that was being provided to American Junkers. And you're like, hey, let's meet up and talk about it. And that's,
So we met up, talked about it, and then now, actually, I want to backtrack here because I'm like, I want to scale Junk Academy. That's where I'm doing this. And you're like, man, I think the biggest thing that you have going is the social media thing, right? Because it's a recurring model. You guys got great results.
Yeah.
We ended up meeting up and became partners on this business.
Yeah.
And I thought that the story itself would sell. So we started this company called Rise Media recently, right? Tell everyone a little bit about that, since we haven't really publicly announced anything.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So basically we're going to target really any client that is probably more service-based or really just like-minded folks who think like us that want to grow. And basically what it's going to be is we're going to give them a framework for how to grow their business and get attention on social media, whether it's, hey, this is the kind of content you need to post, or this is the kind of videos you need to shoot, or hey, we'll come out for a day and we'll create all this content, be prepared for it, and we're going to shoot like 90 videos and get 6 months of content. And then we're going to target like we'll just use junk removal as an example. Like we're going to target where their content needs to go and who their friends really need to be, or really who needs to be seen.
What their
right?
target market is.
Exactly. So like for junk removal, it's easy. It's like one, it's the consistency of posting, because now every time somebody calls me or I call somebody like, hey, how's your junk removal business going? It looks like you guys are crushing on social media. And then two, it's buy sell trade groups, it's real estate investment groups, it's brokerages, it's property managers, wholesalers, anything like that. Getting the content from, or getting your services in front of them as most efficiently and most frequently as possible is going to land you leads. And then we just kind of discussed it, and it kind of took off into this idea of like, hey, really this works for any business. You just basically have to understand their goals and understand, where they want to go, and then who their target market is. And you can go out and research what kind of content they need to post, what kind of content they need to create, and then provide a service that is consistent for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So many people have a limited mindset when it comes to social media. We've talked to people ourselves and they're like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I just did an interview with Brian. Also, it's like, I don't really want to be the guy who's like on camera, that sort of thing. That's what everybody says. My girlfriend, she wants to do something in like the beauty world, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we just had that baby. She's not going to go to school yet, and she's not going to start that business for a while. Yeah. And I'm like, start building your brand right now, right? So whenever you launch this thing's going to be massive. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I haven't done this yet. I haven't done this yet. It's all a limited mindset. Yeah. But considering I've done it and how it changed my life, it's like I always tell those people, just do it.
Yeah,
who cares what people say? Just start posting content.
Yeah.
People don't hire you because they don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. Luckily, Grant Cardone out there, I saw that and took a lot of advice from him when it comes to, if you don't pop up first, somebody else will. And, the news was the new newspaper, and now the news or the TV is the new Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to adapt to what's changing and, really learn how to market your business.
There's so many leads that we land for the junk removal business where I say, hey, how'd you hear about us? They go, we typed in junk removal on Facebook Marketplace and you were the first one to pop up. And I'm like, bingo. That's exactly what we want to hear. And that is exactly what I want to be able to tell our clients. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's an awesome business, extremely scalable and, all that good stuff. But being able to share the successes that we've had at American Junkers and then show that, hey, we can do this for your business. And then I'm so excited for those first few clients to come back to us and say, hey, look, like this is what I did this month off social media. And how would you put it? Like really have not that we really need a proof of concept because I think it's already proven, but just like have the confidence or the legitimacy that it's there, that it's really, I guess the way to put it is that it's the new SEO.
Right. Yeah. The new SEO.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up here, what is the biggest advice you can give to somebody who is wanting to grow wealth, who's wanting to make more money, that sort of thing?
Yeah. A couple of things. Like when I look back and I look at my biggest regret in my life, it's 100% going to college. I should not have gone to school. Like I said, when I started earlier, I thought that I was going to go be this accountant. I was going to be a CPA and I owned an accounting firm, I was going to live this great life. In reality, like my best trait and my best skill set is just going out and grinding and working hard. So obviously college is great for some people. If you want to be a doctor, lawyer, whatever, obviously an engineer, like that's important. But if you're somebody out there that's like got the entrepreneurial mindset, you want to grind, you want to start a business, focus on trying to find a mentor rather than wasting your time at a 4-year school. I mean, like it's literally like if you're going to go be an entrepreneur and you want to party for 4 years, go to school. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be like Kyle, who's a millionaire by 23 years old, don't go to school. Find a mentor that you can work under, offer to work for them for free, live at home, eat crackers, eat like what Mark Cuban did, eat mustard sandwiches or ketchup sandwich, whatever the heck he ate. But
potatoes and McDonald's ketchup packets.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the Matrix just canceled you. Yeah. So it was really nice knowing you.
No joke.
But man, I really appreciate you coming on here and, providing value to the audience. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are going to take away a couple gems here. So
I hope so.
Again, glad I met you, man, and we got big things on the way.
That's right. It's coming. I appreciate you having me. It's been fun.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you guys on the next one.